This time on the Random Junk channel, we're going to be working on an older Department 56 piece called Up, Up, and Away Witch. And this is from 1999. This is one of the ones that have the 120 volt motor in it. That's why it's just got a cord with an off-on switch, and it just hums. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll try and bring it up closer to the... Also, this shouldn't just freely spin. It's not spinning the shaft and the base. The whole base is turning, so that indicates the motor's broke. So I'm going to pull the witch out, and I'm going to set her off to the side here. That way I can bring this up so you can listen and see if you can hear it. Sounds horrible if you could. Alright, and see, it's got the 120 volt plug in. And yeah, so you got to be really careful with it. Now, if you have a piece like this, the first thing I always recommend, if there's no noise, the first thing I always recommend is to check the fuse. There's a fuse right here. You can see a little cover. It's a 5 amp fuse. That's if there's no noise, because you might have just blown the fuse. Now, on this style, it's like the one I did with the motor conversion. The base is, well, not supposed to be removed. And unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it off to get to it. But there's your year, your month, so April of 99. It's currently May of 2024, so this thing is 25 years old, and it looks really good for being 25 years old. So, unfortunately, after 25 years, we're going to have to fix it and do some repairs and a little modification to the base here. Sometimes you're lucky on the base and you can get it to peel. So I'm going to try first. I'm going to look for a gap. I'm going to see if I can just get it to lift. Normally you can't get it to lift because they use a really good glue or adhesive. And all I'm doing is chipping the base. Yeah, it's chipping the plastic right here. It's not destroying the outer edge. So I'm going to see about trimming this. Trying not to do a lot of damage, but I want to cut a slot into it so I can see how it's set inside. Like the skating rinks that one I just showed you on one of the more recent videos. Okay, so there's nothing I have to worry about in the way. They got the wires tucked up really good. What's nice about these opaque bases is if you're concerned, you can shine a light and you can see right through them, which is really nice. Try to have a sharp blade when you do this. You don't risk cutting yourself when it tries to jump out. I buy my X-Acto knife blades from Amazon in the 50 packs, and as soon as they start to indicate dullness, I swap them out. Or if I break the tips off and I need a tip, I just swap them out. And there we go. So there's our bottom. Just like on the pond, you got your motor, you got your wire nuts. Now this one's better protected than one of the ones I recently did. This one is not only wire nutted, it's heat shrunk right there. And they even had glue on it, and the glue broke free. But they did have some glue on it to retain the wire's tension. This is a riveted motor, and we're going to have to take it out. Now there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. It looks like there's supposed to be 6, but there's one missing right there, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to be there or not, to remove this base. And we also have to break the glue free from the wire loom. So I'm going to do my best not to cut the whole bottom off, just for the fact that I'd like to have some reference point for gluing it back on. Let's move that out of the way so don't cut myself. These are going to be a little bit tougher, so we're going to use a big power drill. Here's the shaft. I have a funny feeling that the inside of the motor broke and not the actual motor itself. Looking through the hole, the gears inside, right there, yeah, they're broke. Yeah, that's bad. That's pretty interesting. It's a friction fit. That's why it spins. It's because it is broken. All right, so I need that razor knife again, or an X-Acto knife. We're going to cut off the insulation. It should be the heat shrink, which is technically insulation. And when you get to this point, if you haven't already, make sure it is unplugged. This is 120 volts or thereabouts, depending on your power from your wall socket coming out. As soon as you remove these wire nuts, you get live power if it's still plugged in. You can never 100% rely on a switch, especially these old rotary switches. I've had many of them fail where they fail off, and I've had many of them fail on. So when you click them, they don't turn off. And I've had them where you click them, they don't turn on. So make sure you, for safety, unplug it. So now we just got the bare wires. And now we have the motor. Now you're gonna have to drill out this motor. And if you watch the ones I did on the skating rink, this is a kit that you can buy from Suntronics, and it is a $40 kit. And I'm hoping I have another one because I had 5 of these ponds to fix, and I think I bought 5. I just want to find it. Oh, there's the lube. Yeah, and if you can do math, 5 kits is $200. Like I said, it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than dealing with. There's a kit right back there. Yeah. Here's the motor. Now we just need the rest of it. So this is my last one. Right. 120 volt right there. So this one is a 120 clockwise 4 watt, and this one is a 120 clockwise 3 watt, so this one's slightly stronger. This is a 5.6 RPM, and this is a 4.5 RPM, so slightly slower but stronger. Finding the motors exactly are difficult. They change them up quite often, but what I need is I need the replacement screws that go with this motor kit. I took them out when I repaired, there they are, so screws, when I did the pond. So you will need a drill, and you will need a drill bit. So there. So it is a 1/4 inch drill bit. Now, as I explained in my video repair of the skating rink, I do it from the back side so the heat generated is put into the metal of the motor and not so much the plastic. You can do it from here if you're careful, but I just like to do it from the back, especially on pieces like this where I don't have any spare parts, meaning I don't have a spare base. So watch your ears. It's going to get a little loud for a second. Alright, that one's just spinning, so that rivet's going to have to be held. And that rivet's spinning too. So let's see if I can do it from this side carefully. No. Alright, so we got spinning rivets, which isn't very common, but it does happen. So what a spinning rivet means is you go to rivet it, or excuse me, unrivet it or drill it out, and the rivet's spinning with the drill bit. And you can't really spin, you can't drill it out. So I'm going to use some needle nose pliers and hold the fat side, which is the back side. And I'm going to drill it out from the front as much as I don't want to, but I don't really have much of a choice. Now you don't want to stick the pliers all the way through because you need the drill bit to go inside. So you need some pliers that you can grab just the tip and then drill. And you should have safety squints on when you do this. And of course it's a little more difficult because I don't have a lot of... If I was doing this off camera, I'd have this in a vise. And the reason I have it in a vise is it acts like a third set of hands. So it stopped doing that. But my vise is attached to the bench and I can't bring it on camera. That side's almost out. Let's see if I can hold it with my finger. There we go. Alright, so this rivet is now pop free. There we go. Now I'm going to do this one again, since I didn't get it all the way. Our 2 rivets, and I'm going to clean up some of these metal shavings real quick. we're done, we might open that up just to see how it failed. Now, because these are made for the skating rink, they have a screw. This has got a slot and it's supposed to slide over. You can see this is a very narrow channel. This one's a little fatter. So I might have to hone this out a hair to see if we can get it to fit. I doubt we're going to get this inside there. I'm sure it's a different size since it's a different manufacturer. This one is a, just says Suntronic, so it's made by him. And this one is made by Ron Sang. So, let me see if I have any other 120 volt motors that I can use. What about this guy? This one might fit better because I don't have to modify it as much. So let me just take a little material out of the inside here. Just taking a small amount as I'm going up to the top of this notch. And that's because this is a D and that was a double flat and this is a double flat, but it's fatter since it's made to be screwed in. I just don't have it cut deep enough. I can't get the top piece of the trim. There we go. Now it's trimming. There we go. So I'm not going to use the motor for the pond. I don't know if Suntronics has the motor for this piece directly. I'm just going by what I have. If they do, I will link it below. I'll check. But I have many synchronous motors in different voltages. And this one is a 120. The sticker fell off of it. It was right here. And just to make sure it's all good, we're going to use the power from in here. We're going to turn it on and make sure it's spinning. Now on AC motors, it generally does not matter which wire goes in first unless they specifically say. That's if they're polarized, but every AC motor I've ever worked on, they don't have a marking whether it's one wire to the other. There we go. It's spinning. You can see the motor turning. Unplugged again. So this has little white detents for alignment that you pop the motor on. And now these are lock nuts, which means they have the nylon in them, which means that you can't put them on with your fingers. You can start them, which is what I'm going to do right here. But once it gets to the nylon, you have to use a wrench or pliers. So I'm just doing this to start it so it doesn't fall out. There we go. And you can use needle nose pliers, which they're right here. You can get a small wrench, any way you need to hold it. Nice and snug. Now, because this isn't a high torque unit, I am going to grab a standard Phillips hand screwdriver, and I'm going to make sure that they're actually tight. So I don't want this motor to walk. So yeah, I got about a revolution out of that one. And a revolution out of that one. So yeah, because I do not want this motor to wobble while it's on here. I don't think this is deep enough yet. I think I got some debris in here I need to remove. There we go. I'm just going to put in a couple for 3 of the screws basically to hold it so I can test it. That's just so I can make sure everything spins, and if it's good, then I can just finish the last 2 screws. But if there's a problem where it's slipping and it's not in alignment, I don't have to worry about taking out all the screws. I'm not liking the fact that it's free spinning, but it may just be a tension drive. Yeah, I think the alignment's out. I can hear the motor turning, but this isn't. You can't put this thing in backwards. It has alignment studs. There's that pole. That pole's supposed to travel all the way through. May not have had it in all the way. Yep, pole's supposed to travel all the way through. So I didn't push it in all the way. But while I have it out, I want to get some heat shrink on that before we go any further, since I know it's a good motor. I need to find some heat shrink that goes over this. That's going to be big enough. There we go. This might be too big. Yeah, it's too big. Now, if you don't have any heat shrink, you can use hot glue. That's how some of the pieces I've worked on have been. But should have heat shrink in that correct size. There's my heat shrink. Yeah, that's the size I need. We're just going to take the heat shrink, we're going to cut it in half, we're going to stick it on. And we're going to get it. So the wire nuts are tight. I did torque them with my fingers. And you can use a heat gun or a lighter. I use a lighter on small stuff. So I got a lighter. Careful not to burn your house. That's where a heat gun would be a little safer if you're concerned. Also, if you have a ceiling fan like I do, sometimes it makes the lighter a little more difficult. And also, hot glue strings, like these little wispy things, I don't know if you can see them on camera, they are flammable. So make sure you clean them out of the way or else you get a little fire. One more test. Now I know I gotta push it down a little further. And then I'll do some wire management, meaning that these green and white wires here, I will hot glue them to the inside. So that way they're not flopping around in case it has to be taken off again to replace the motor again when the motor fails. Because even though it's a replacement motor, they don't last forever. When you do get the kit from Mr. Christmas or Suntronics, They do send little zip ties too, and you can run a zip tie through the wires around one of these standoff studs. I don't use the zip ties because they do get brittle, but this is what they send you. They're really long too. I do use zip ties, but I usually just use the hot glue because that's how most, not all, most of the Department 56 pieces are. They're literally hot glued. Like this one is. This one had the hot glue and you can see where it broke free. And I also got to hot glue the bottom back on. So once the hot glue gun is hot enough, you just do it all at the same time. But it does come with zip ties. If you're a zip tie person, you can use the zip ties. There we go. Plug it in. Look at that. So this isn't a terribly difficult one to do. I will see if Sontronics actually has the correct motor versus the motor I originally pulled out, which was the motor for the ice skating rinks and all around the park and all of those. I'll put this more in camera. But if not, this motor you can get on Amazon. You just have to modify your plastic buffer or holder, because it doesn't have a double square shaft or a double flat shaft. It has a D shaft. They might have these. The last time I tried to get a double flat, the shaft was really small. So it was a much smaller shaft. And a lot of them come like this, where they're just small round shafts. And that's a problem because it's not the right size. And then they also sell them like this, where they come with a gear that's pressed on. I thought that was a screw. It's not a screw. That's actually a pressed on gear. It's also a 120 volt motor, which would probably work fine, except I can't get the gear off. And this one's a 4 watt, 5.6 RPM. So it's the same as the one we just put in. That's also a 4 watt. But I think this one's a 6.7 or 7.8 RPM. So it's spinning a little faster. But the RPMs aren't terribly important. Synchronous motors have slow RPMs because they're full of torque, and you can't really have speed with torque on an electric motor like this. So unless you're going for, you want the switch to be screaming, you can get like a 10-12 RPM. You're going twice as fast as this. If you want her to go slower, you can get a 2-3 RPM. Heck, I even have one in one of my boxes. It's a 1-2 RPM. So it takes 1 minute to make a 360 degree circle, which is crazy. That's really slow. But it wasn't designed for an animated piece. It was designed for a timer. So, but it works. It's 120 volts. Now that this is fixed, I'm curious what the inside of this looks like, only for the fact that there's stuff inside that's not supposed to be moving. So, if you don't want to see this thing come apart, thanks for watching. Because all I'm going to do now is get the glue gun heated up in a minute and unplug it and see what the get the bottom glued on. But I want to see what's in here, and if anybody else is curious, I'll hopefully have it open here in just a moment or two. Once I find there we go, slightly larger screwdriver. Another reason I open these isn't just to see how they failed. It's also because there's gears inside. And some of these gears you can reuse. But there's the reason why it doesn't work. Yeah, oops. The main drive gear, kind of sort of broken. They don't sell rebuild kits for these. Sometimes you can take them apart and find another company motor that might be bad, the same manufacturer. Like I said, this one is RS or Rongsang. And if you have one, you can pull it apart, pull out the gears. But I usually take these apart and take out the gears, which are still good if they're not brittle, because this one's got a lot of stress fractures in it. You can see there's one there, there's one there. And then I'll throw the motor casing into the recycling bin, which, if you didn't see it in one of the videos, it's my little recycling bin where I throw my motors, because I actually do recycle them. I send them off to motor scrapper when I have a box full. I just did it recently, so now I'm making another box. So, but anyhow, that's how you do it. I will see what I can find for links. If I can find a link where I can get a the more accurate or correct motor, I will do so. If not, I'll just put some generic ones on from Amazon that are the same voltage, approximately the same wattage and RPM, and with a similar shaft. There we go. That's how you do it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them below. I try to respond to them as best as I can. So now it's just time to glue her back together. So, thanks for watching. Till the next one.